Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, yet you're not getting the results that you're looking for? Like you could write the textbook on it, you're doing everything exactly like you're supposed to be, yet you're not getting the results as fast as you want. You feel stuck, you feel frustrated. Well, what I'm about to take you through today is part of a video training that I did with a group of people all about getting results faster. So if you want to get results faster, stick around because this is the exact playbook to get things faster. We take you through a couple of exercises, and I give you at the end of the video the exact blueprint for how to make sure you can get exactly what you want as fast as possible, and even how you can think bigger from someone who has been stuck, has been frustrated, and has spent way, way too long thinking small. And if you want more of this type of content, that is exactly what my new book, Consciouspreneur: What to Do When the Hard Work Stops Working, is all about. Discovering what drives you, discovering exactly how you can get results faster without necessarily having to work harder. So if you're interested in that, click the link below or check out the QR code here. That is going to get you on the pre-sale list, which is going to get you 25 training videos on this type of work. Hope you enjoy the video. We'll see you on the other side. I want you guys, today's going to be a pen and paper. Today's going to be a Google Doc type thing. I want you guys to write down, I want you guys to take down what is something, either something that you want but haven't accomplished yet, or somewhere you feel stuck. Some goal you want but haven't accomplished yet, or somewhere you feel stuck. This could be with, your lifestyle and your health goals. This could be anywhere in your life. Okay. We are just creating better humans with a better working brain today. Okay. I don't, obviously I want you guys to succeed, but that's not all we're focused on. So something you want, but haven't accomplished yet, or somewhere you're feeling stuck. So the first thing when it comes to wanting something that we haven't accomplished yet, particularly when it comes to like leveling up. So one of the things I'm pretty sure Mitch knows this. I am going to become a dad in about a month. Got baby on the way. First baby on the way. So one of the big things that I have been thinking about a lot is wanting to be this present father first, who also has a lot of success, both my physical body, my business, all these things. And so I've been doing my best to surround myself with other dads who exemplify that. Okay. So what I want you to think about is, what does your environment on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis look like? Are the people that you're spending time with and who are directly affecting you and the way that you think and the way that you act, are they in alignment with what you want? Okay. I really notice this when I go to events. So being here in Winnipeg, I've got lots of good friends, and I've got lots of good, I call them internet friends as well, who provide a good environment for me. And my friends here aren't bad people. They just want different things than me. Okay. Even my family, they're great. My in-laws, my parents, they're great, but they want different things than me. They think in a different way than I think. They can't understand me and the way that I think and the way that I act. Okay. They don't get it. It's kind of fun to be the weird one, actually, to be honest. So I want you to think about, is the environment that you're spending time in, the people that you're spending time with, are they adding to the thing that you're trying to get that you haven't gotten yet? Because you are now needing to level up. So before you, let's say, for example, have the dream body, you have to become the person who has the dream body. You have to become that type of person first, because then, right, the difference between, let's say, for example, someone who is super confident in themselves and is super fit, the difference is simply exercising every day, watching what they eat, making sure they get their sleep, making sure they drink their water. That's just what they do. It's just who they are. And you guys are clearly, with the travel and all these things, you guys are clearly taking this step to the next level. But if you guys have ever heard the story of the crabs in the bucket, it's hard to take the step to the next level and get out of the bucket when you've got other crabs that are pulling you down, trying to keep you where you are. So if you guys haven't heard, there's this wild study they've done with crabs. You put them all in a bucket, and if one of them is trying to crawl out, the other ones will actively pull that one down back into the bucket. It's called the crabs in the bucket theory. Okay. Do you have people who are the crabs pulling you down? And if you do, how can you make sure that if you have to spend time with them, or when you spend time with them, you're careful and intentional about what you're taking in? And do you have people who are on the outside trying to help pull you out of the bucket, trying to help you pull you to a higher level? So this call, for example, is a great example of a better environment. Okay, this group, these people. But do you have other people who you can talk to on a regular basis, who think like you do, who understand you, and who maybe even exemplify that next level of what you want? Who maybe even you can look to as inspiration of, that's what I want to be like. That's who I want to be. When you're thinking, when you're making decisions, you guys remember those WWJD bracelets people used to have? What would Jesus do? I don't know if they still have them, right? It's like, what would X person do? Right? Maybe that's for you. What would Mitch do? Right? But having someone who exemplifies the type of person that you want to step into gives you that vision, right? It's helpful to have the person that you don't want to be. It's helpful to have the anti-hero, but it's also really helpful to have the hero, have the person that you're striving to be like. Does that make sense? That's the first thing I would say to you. So if your environment doesn't fit it, or if there's bits and pieces that do, the question to ask is, where can I immerse myself in more of an environment that's aligned with what I want, that's aligned with this thing that I want, or this thing that I'm feeling stuck on right now? Because oftentimes our environment is the simplest thing to change, right? It's not easy to, and I'm not saying break up with friends, but what I'm saying is maybe we spend a little less time with them. Or maybe if they consistently pull us into drinking too much, we don't go over there on a Friday night. We go over there on a Saturday morning, and we go for a hike, or we go for a bike ride, or something like that. Okay. So that's the first thing, is your environment when it comes to getting something that you haven't accomplished yet. The second thing is, I want you to ask yourself what can be a somewhat triggering question. And it can be a question that people avoid. So when you're thinking about where you're feeling stuck and what something you want that you haven't accomplished yet, I want you to ask yourself, I want you to write this down, and this might take a bit of time, but what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of when it comes to this thing that you want? So what are you afraid of? Because the way our subconscious brain works, okay, a lot of you have heard me talk about the conscious and the subconscious, right? The conscious it can set any goal. I want to make $1 million. I want to make $1 billion. I want to be the most shredded and jacked and most fit person on the face of the planet. I can say anything, right? I can set any goal. And I've told you guys this before, the difference between the super successful people and the not so successful people is not in the goals that they set. They have the same goals. There's 1 million people in the world that have the same goals as you do. The difference and what leads to success is the actions. Okay? And the thing that stops us from taking the actions, or stops us from making the decisions that serve us and will get us where we want to go, is usually some form of protection or fear that's coming from our subconscious. Okay? This is coming from the stories we tell ourselves. This is coming from the limiting beliefs and the things that we think are going to come with the goal. I had a girl this morning who has big money goals. I work with a lot of business owners. And she also has a belief we uncovered that She has to work harder than everybody else to get what she wants. This was a belief that she didn't know she had. She was always told that working harder than everyone else was great. But the problem was she was already working as hard as she possibly could, yet she wanted 2 or 3 or 4 times as much money that she's currently making. So you can imagine her subconscious brain going, we don't have the capacity to work that hard. So if we think that we have to work harder than everybody else to get the goal, and we want 4 times as much as we currently have, screw that, I'm out. And that's what our subconscious brain does, is if there's something you're afraid of, it's always going to protect you from that before it allows you to take risk. Because the story from the past is, when I took that risk, it didn't work out, or it made me feel a certain way. And that's okay, because it's protected you in the past. But right now, in this new phase of life, as you're shooting for this new goal, this thing that you want to get faster than it's coming, it's not serving you anymore. This belief or this fear is not serving you anymore. Now, I'm not saying that you're wrong for feeling that fear, but what I'm saying is, as long as we can uncover it and recognize that, well, I could feel this fear and I could still take actions in alignment with what I want, and I'm not going to die. Because that's the big fear we have, right? Is I'm going to die alone. All this stuff's going to happen. I'm going to die alone, right? So what are you afraid of? And then, maybe you're afraid of not hitting the goal and how that's going to feel and look if you don't hit the goal. Maybe you're afraid of success. Maybe you're afraid of hitting the goal and being looked at differently. This is a big one in the fitness world, because if you lose a lot of weight, you will actually look different physically, right? There's a lot of goals that people have where, like, a lot of people won't even know that they reached the goal. They'll be the only one who knows. But physical fitness goals, like, I look different. I'm wearing different clothes. I actively look different. So that's a fear that a lot of people have, is that I will succeed and I will be looked at differently. Maybe there will be different expectations. Maybe people won't understand. Maybe people will judge me. Maybe I'll get more attention that doesn't feel safe, because in the past I got a lot of attention and it didn't feel safe. Okay. Or maybe one of the things, and this is one of the things that I've had to work through in trying to grow my business, and even in trying to get really fit, because I'm on my own fitness journey right now, is there a fear of overwhelm, or a fear of the amount of work and effort that is going to be required to get what you want. That's a big fear that a lot of people, like, we kind of like project what we think is going to be required, and, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. Right? That was a big thing for me, is that for me to get what I want, well, I'm going to have to, like, be super stringent on tracking my calories and this and that and the other. And the reality is, some of those things are true, but I can put systems in place to simplify my life so that it doesn't need to be overwhelming. But it required me pulling that out of myself to go, oh, that's why I've been sabotaging myself. That's why it's moving slower than I want it to, is because I'm afraid of something. So what I want you to do now is what Tim Ferriss calls fear setting. So I want you to take the thing that you're afraid of, the thing that you wrote down that you're most afraid of, and I want you to actually, like, play that out. So, okay, I'm afraid of, let's say, hitting the goal and being looked at differently. Or maybe I'm afraid that I'm going to really go all in and I'm going to fail, and I'm going to feel terrible about myself. I'm going to have no confidence, and here we go again. Whatever it is, I want you to, like, write down, let's go to the worst case scenario of the thing you're afraid of. Let's go there. Okay, I want you to get to worst case scenario, which is likely I'm going to die alone. Okay. I know that this isn't overly fun. However, I think you're going to see something that you don't see right now because we feel we're afraid, right? There's low stakes here. It's not actually going to happen. So let's just write it down. So what I want to do now is let's do a complete 180. I want you to think when it comes to the thing you want, let's focus on that. What's the best case scenario? As my friend Joshua says, TBC, let's think best case. What's the primo parking spot at the busy mall? What's the best case scenario for what you want? I want you to get really clear and paint a picture for yourself of the best case scenario. Which of those is more likely? The worst case scenario or the best case scenario? The reality is that at worst, it's a 50-50 shot. Yet we focus so much on the potential worst case because, again, our brain is built to protect us, that we focus so much on that. But if you guys know anything about my beliefs on how this whole world, crazy world works, is a lot aligned with, you guys may have heard of the book, The Secret and the Law of Attraction, is that we attract what we feel and think. We magnetize what we think to us. So the more that you are worried about and thinking about the potential bad stuff and the worst case scenario and making sure you protect yourself, the more likely that you are to attract those types of things to you. And the less likely you are to allow this best case scenario to actually play out. As it's playing out, we find speed bumps and find ways to sabotage ourselves, right? Because our path is the direct path that we are set up for as human beings is the best case scenario. We just put roadblocks in our own way from fears and from trying to protect ourselves and from thinking about these worst case scenarios. And the other thing about the worst case scenario, I want you to look at that worst case scenario and ask yourself, could I handle that? Like, it wouldn't be comfortable and it wouldn't be fun and it would probably suck for a while, but you guys are pretty dang resilient. I bet you'd be just fine. So if it's at least a 50-50 shot that we could have the best case scenario, and even if we have the worst case scenario, we could handle it, why not just go for it? Why not just push your chips in the middle? Because, like, in the game of life, we don't get to take any of the chips with us anyway. So we may as well just push the chips in the middle and see what happens.